Hello everyone. Very recently, I recorded a video about the Jungle Cafe, a new story of mine. It was quite short. It was essentially a recap of the lore. But in this video, as per requested by quite a few people saying we want longer videos, we're gonna give you something much longer. So, this is gonna sort of be more of an explanation video, going over more of the lore, and let's get into it. Let's first talk about the founding of this cafe. This Jungle Cafe was made on the outskirts of a rural Hawaiian town. It became popular in the 50s, owned by two World War II vets, a nurse and a man. They were sweethearts. They would both make local food, local ingredients, all that stuff. But they made a crucial mistake. Sometime in the 60s, when they were starting to go downhill in terms of business, they started to buy meat from the local naval bases and military bases. Well, one time they bought meat that had these parasites in it. Now, at first I want to tell you guys, the parasites were only about this big. Maybe, let's say 2 inches, right? Well, now they got really huge with branches and roots, so forth and so on. That's what's actually going on right here. Now you may be asking, why do they have this spherical thing? This is sort of their blossom. It's their main way they see in the dark, as it's a sort of a flashlight sort of apparatus. And it also helps signify which parasite is who. Like, for example, if this sees this, it's going to know it has its friends nearby. You may be asking, why doesn't it use its eyeball? It is mostly blind, but it still does have one. As I was saying, the couple that own this restaurant, well, they sort of let this parasite problem go under the radar. They swept it under the rug. But when people started to vomit up their food and get extremely sick, they closed their doors. They didn't want to deal with any lawsuits or none of that, because, well, it could have really drove them out of town. So they tried locking this place up, and they thought everything was going to be fine. It was all going to be good. Well, then the first Hawaiian kid came. He was a local of the town, sort of a punk of sorts. This is in the 70s. Well, he came in here expecting maybe pick up a few coffee cups for a souvenir. Unfortunately, well, he was snatched by these little creatures, and they sort of started to do this to him, wrapping around and around, tighter and tighter on his arm, until blood started to pour viciously from his arm, right? And around his neck, stomach, because his roots tightened so hard, and they constricted him. He was screaming for help, but no one was around him. There was just overgrown Hawaiian grass, some shrub. As I said, this was on the outskirts of the Hawaiian town. The Jungle Cafe was just a whisper and a cacophony. No one remembered it. And this kid, he wouldn't be found for years. Well, eventually, more people came in, snooping around as people do. Well, they ended up like these guys. Some other teens from the local Hawaiian town came in. They thought it was all a joke. They saw the place, and it looked like they had some branches in it, maybe some cables. Well, they walked in. They're snatched by these creatures. They're viciously wrapped around in these roots until they can't breathe no more. Their mouths are open agape. Their poor little mouths were screaming for help, and this kid looks to the other and he says, this kid looks to the other and says, "You know, we're gonna die, Tommy, right?" And all the other one can answer back is just a faint groan as the life and air in his lungs is squeezed out by these parasites, and they begin to feed on his blood, his stored fats, and all these other nutrients in the body. All his lipids, everything. It all just comes out in the tubes. A few months later, they're just fungal farms. These boys are now just reduced to statues of what once used to be life. The Jungle Cafe had to be destroyed. It had to be set aflame. If not, more people were going to die. Well, eventually 3 big shot tourists came. This was back in the 2000s. Well, they didn't have much. They had some camcorders, but they made the stupid, foolish mistake of going in without them. They thought it was just going to be a scout operation. These 3 thought it would be okay. It wasn't gonna be okay. Well, these 2 first went in. They're recents. They're still alive in this drawing. You can see them struggling for help, wishing that they'd die sooner. Because that's the only end in this cafe. It used to be you started your morning here with a cup of coffee. Here you end your life with hopefully a gunshot to your own brain. Hopefully you're able to end it on your own terms. Because in this cafe it is hell. Real hell with these parasites from the government, military, naval bases. Well, you can see that they went in. They didn't expect it to end this way. They thought they were gonna just shoot some film on their cameras. They thought it was all gonna be okay. Well, it's not. They went in. What happens? These things went bam! From the ceilings, from the boards. They came out crawling like hungry little kids. They start suctioning on their little bald heads. They start chomping and chomping and getting those nutrients out of the brainstem. As you can see, these men are on the verge of death. They are dying. Their arms are getting so purple because these things are constricting around them. Constricting, like snakes, only this is nature's snakes. Nature's non-sentient snakes. To clarify. Well, this other guy comes in. He was drinking a little. He takes out his revolver from his pocket and he's like, "What the hell? What the hell is going on here? Why are you guys dying? What is this? Are they snakes?" He's like, shoot me in the head. Just end it. He doesn't realize that he's about to die too. The things have snuck up behind him. They're smart. They're smart little creatures. They'll know when you're behind them. They'll know when they're in front of you. They will know. This guy walks in through the front door, and he just sees this, and he wants to just leave. But there's no turning back. He may not knowing in that drawing, but his fate was sealed the minute he went here. Sealed for life. And as he's looking, he knows that he's just walked into probably the worst parasite in history. There is no escaping this. And he knows it's the end. And this is only the first type of Jungle Cafe creature. As I said, those weren't the only types of creatures in the Jungle Cafe. Right outside, past the pavement, right next to the little sidewalk you go on to get in the cafe, right next to it is hollow ground. Hollow ground, because these things have been burrowing past people's skulls down into the dirt where they've made their own little lair. A little Hawaiian boy who's walking to the cafe. At this point, the cafe was still open. I'm going back to the 60s for this part. He thought he was maybe gonna get a little coffee for a dime. He was hungry and all that, maybe get some eggs and bacon. Well, no! He was gonna die, because he dropped through the hollow ground. And then these cords, these wooden cords, they start strangling him. He couldn't breathe. He started to die. He was like, ah! Well, no one could hear him. near him. This was hollow ground. Suddenly, out of his belly button, blood splattered into the dirt, because life force was growing through his belly button, through his back, through his rib cage. Suddenly, sprouts were out of him. He was nature's little plant. Suddenly, the creatures came. It attached itself to his little hairy head, and suddenly his scalp was gone. These creatures were scalping people. These things were the Antichrist. Suddenly the roots start closing in. Oh, he knows it's over. 60 seconds till he's just another host. The roots start growing around his neck. Growing around his neck. And he's pulled back up to the ceiling where the life force starts to be sucked out of him. Suddenly his feet are just torn apart like little paper mache dolls you get at the art store. Sprouts come out of him. And in his last moments, he looks down and he's like, Jesus Christ, those were my friends from primary school. Turns out a lot of people been missing at the Hawaiian Jungle Cafe. They're all dead. And he knows he's next as he looks down in sorrow. Because there is no escaping the hollow pit next to the Jungle Cafe. Oh, and it only gets worse. It only gets worse. Should I flip the page? Should I? Well, I will, to show you what lies next to it. In the tree lines, where there's coconuts and palm beaches, in those tree lines lies another form of creature. These are the portable version of monsters. There are the versions that don't ground down. No. They borrow tools from the kitchen, axes, anything their grubby little rooty paws can get a hold on. And these, they stalk you at night. Imagine you're walking down from the beach. You're just a tourist. You stop by the cafe. You're looking out at the trees, having a nice little cigarette between your lips. Suddenly, smack! These things are wrapping around your neck. Suddenly you're being dragged down into the hollow pit of the Jungle Cafe. You know you're dead. You've heard the urban legends. You thought it was a lie. Well, it wasn't. And now you've met the same fate as so many others. All because you visited the Jungle Cafe. This one was quite long. And thank you for watching it from the bottom of my heart. I hope I got well into character enough for you guys, and I hope you enjoyed this story.